I'm almost 40, and I've been in the industry for 15 years. I just feel like, I don't know what to do. And she just looked at me. She's like, you have another 20 years.
Hey everyone, I'm Nelia from NellyWorks. Welcome to my podcast, NellyTalks, a careers focused show for those who are considering careers in tech industry or maybe looking for a change of direction in this space. We will be interviewing different speakers in this field to understand their journeys, the hurdles they face, how they overcame those, and any tips and hints that they would like to share on the way. Hello, everyone. Today we have Heeru on the podcast with us. Heeru, I know we know each other personally. It'd be great if you could introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, Nelly. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. I am Heeru, and I am a mom of two, full-time working research director, which I also call myself as consumer psychologist sometimes, just to fancy it up a bit. But yeah, I am like a regular working mom.
We love fancy job titles in recruitment, especially. So, yeah, love it. Um, Hero, could you give us a bit of an overview of what you've done professionally so our audience can learn about your kind of career path? And it'd be great to learn how you got into the world of
Okay,
research.
that's a big one. I've been with in research, in qualitative research for about 15 years now. I have no idea how I ended up being there, but I did. I have a psychology background. I used to love psychology and statistics. And I wanted to become something else, but I think destiny had it some other way. During my post graduation, I did an internship and I really loved what I did, which was talking to people and yeah, doing this for a job, like constantly talking to people, understanding them, why they do what they do, why they like what they like. And those questions just kept me, fascinated. And I ended up being here. And here I am, 15 years in the same job profile.
I mean, it's great that you do what you love for a living. I think that's a kind of amazing result. If you can look back at that after 15 years and still enjoy it, it's always a good sign. I know you've mentioned you wanted to be something else. What did you grow up wanting to be? Spill the beans. I can sense the story there.
I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that I tried before I actually ended up being a researcher, a lot of stuff. I have been a Montessori teacher. I have been a bit of a model. I was almost about to become an air hostess, but because of some medical reasons, I couldn't. Also was in event management for a while. I was a bit of, a dancer in my school. I also used to love drama. So like I said, I tried everything and ended up, and I was in hospitality as well. Yeah. And I ended up being a researcher. I had no idea I was going to become this.
That's amazing. You are a second dancer on the podcast. The last, I think the one before last podcast, we had Natalie, who went into software engineering after dancing. So, yeah, that is amazing. And I did not know that about you. And how did you find the kind of the transition of going from your studies, moving into research? And how did your education in psychology help you with that?
I think I am a qualitative research, which is focusing completely, like I said, on consumer and consumer psychology. It was part of my curriculum, and there's something that I really found fascinating to know more about why people are buying so many things, what is going behind the scenes for. Uh, by the companies, by the marketing teams, to for people to understand and their needs and motivations and all that, all those things I found really fascinating. I had, like I said, during my undergrad, a background of both psychology and statistics, which was towards something of this sort. And during my post graduation, I think, which was in communications management, it became even more clearer that I really wanted to do this. And I think a lot of encouragement also came in through my peer groups who clearly saw me doing very well as a researcher. And yeah, I just ended up being there. I transitioned very smoothly as a consumer psychologist, a consumer marketer. Yeah.
That's a great story. I think community and peer support is very important, especially kind of early on in your career. Do you feel like having that combination of qualitative and quantitative skills made you makes a successful researcher, makes a good researcher in your field?
I think so. That's true. Both skill sets are very important, but there are people who are naturally bent to a certain skill set. Like I, because I've been doing for 15 years purely qualitative research, and I also find it a little bit niche, and also a skill that it is based on being intuitive, being perceptive. So I think something you already need. It's something that I recognized pretty late, but I did recognize that probably, I really find it interesting to read people's mind, or people, read behind what they are thinking or saying. But at the same time, where quantitative helps is obviously decision making. We are quant people as humans. We need facts to decide, to make decisions. So that's exactly how it helps in even in the industry, that if you have that, even if you have that qualitative bent of mind, you can propose your ideas, your thoughts, your motivations, but uh, it's very hard to decide on those insights. So therefore quant comes in and helps you make those decisions. So it's just helpful in validating what you've been proposing to your clients.
Absolutely, can also relate to that. I think in hiring, we almost have to be data analysts sometimes. And what do you enjoy the most about your role? Kind of, what would you say, like the favorite? I know you're in management now, so it's a kind of a leadership position, perhaps less tactical. But what have you enjoyed when you were hands-on and also now?
I absolutely enjoy storytelling and story weaving. I absolutely enjoy that. I think when I started, obviously, there is a lot of moderation, meeting people, meeting consumers, but when you carve those stories out in a very in a very presentable way, in like those 30 slides or whatever, in that half an hour, you have to tell the story. And then you tell a story in a way which is like, here's the high, here's what I found, and then here's what the data is, and this is the insight. And you try to it's lit I feel like I'm embroidering a story and creating a beautiful picture of what I want to say. I absolutely love storytelling.
You sound like a true artist of what you do. It's a beautiful description. I wish I was able to describe my job in the same way. Anything that you wish you could have changed about this role, or anything that you find challenging in your career?
Challenging bit, obviously, with qual research, the bit that becomes challenging is ad hoc kind of work, because sometimes you don't know where it where it ended up being your insights. But I don't know, I think the briefs itself are challenging. It really and I think in a positive way, those challenges really help you think beyond the obvious, because that's the beauty of my job. Like, think beyond the obvious, dig out those insights. So I think that challenge part of it is a positive challenge, and I really love it.
It's great. I mean, you clearly enjoy what you do. Um, and I guess to look a slightly different angle, I know you've mentioned that you are a working mom, obviously in a leadership role as well that has its demands. Do you feel this career allows you to have a good work-life balance, and how do you juggle?
It is something that is very taxing, because you're constantly thinking. It is a thinker's job. It's not about just sitting and data crunching. That, obviously, that also is very, very taxing. But this is something where you go back from the data, take a step back, think, and you can't stop thinking. Best some of the ideas come at 3 a.m. in the morning. When you wake up and you're like, oh, this is what the answer is for this problem. But I think a lot depends on where you work and your workplace and who you surround yourself with. I have been very conscious, as well as I think, especially after my first child, I became very conscious to protect that zone for myself. and people who will come into that zone professionally and personally. I'm very lucky to have found Nine Seat where I work currently, and the 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 leadership there, which is predominantly, women owned, people who are at my life stage, who understand every bit of it, and put a lot of effort in making sure that there is work life balance, there's mental health, kind of focus, and people are happy where they're working. So I think that has really helped me in shaping up my routines, my work life balance. And honestly, there is no balance, there is just a juggle. All of us are juggling. And I take, like I said, I've been very conscious of having those people, those women in my life who are doing, according to me, a brilliant job to inspire myself constantly. They are my energy. I take a lot of inspiration. You look at yourself. I mean, I just, you have no idea how much you inspire me.
I don't know about inspiring, but I think I feel you having your tribe and like knowing that you doing well and you have people around you who at least look like they've got it together. Maybe that's my case versus actually being the reality is really important. You're right. I do think there's this kind of work life blend, sometimes having to jump on in the evening when kids are in bed. And, at the same time, still being like grateful that you do have a satisfying job and balancing that
I
part.
think one person, obviously, everybody knows her in the industry. It's Indra Nooyi. Her videos really help. Her book is fascinating to read. And My Life in Full, what she wrote about, work life balance. Obviously, I connect a lot with her. She said it beautifully that it's not about work life balance, it's about, work life juggle, where, she had this episode where she wanted to find a solution. She hired someone for baking, or, she baked something for her daughter, and then, it turned out to be really bad. But then she called up someone and said that, her pantry or whatever just said, just it should look like home baked cookies or something. So she found solutions. I think as moms, we constantly find solutions to get those problems out of our way.
I mean,
Yeah.
for me, it's all about outsourcing, and yeah, so if I can make it look authentic, then that's great in a way. Kids are none the wiser, and you might get a little bit less wrinkles and grey hairs as a result. Yeah, no, it's amazing podcast, great.
Happy mom, happy baby.
100%, and everyone else, I think. And do you feel like there is more representation, kind of both gender representation, other type of representation in your field now versus when you were starting up in your career?
So obviously my story is slightly different. I did not start in the UK. I started back in India. But qual research, even in India, predominantly was females dominated. Qual research has very much been like that. But at the same time, we also had lot of males. If you're talking about gender representation, uh, I see that the same. I think, I don't know if it's to do with the, interests or bend of frame of mind, but at the same time, I also see a lot of, the reason I mentioned it, because it was already female dominated. At a senior level, I did see a lot of females, like at a really senior level, and that also inspired me a lot to stick to my career path. Uh, I also see a lot of men, so that is a gender skew that I noticed. And then I moved here, which obviously, is going to be different. I'm moving in a different culture, and I'm moving to a different country. But I think with time, I have seen, a bit more consciousness, bit more balance. I think it's also to do with qual research, because you need different mindsets, different cultures to bring in that learning. I think that really gives that perspective if you have that kind of, diversity kind of frame of mind. And again, like I said, I'm very lucky to be in a company where there's a conscious effort to bring that balance. And yeah, I mean, to me, I have seen that there has been a lot of noise which was there a couple of years back, but that noise has resulted in some bit of, positive kind of balance, or there's more openness to hiring, there's more openness to, talk about it, and own it. I mean, there was a time where people would not would feel conscious of owning that they're from different culture, but own it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can relate. Obviously, as being Ukrainian myself, I think, the days where you felt bad because people couldn't pronounce your name, and that now it's like, I stand out. That's part of me.
Yeah.
In a group of 200, people will remember my name most likely. I do think it's also something that you kind of develop through as a professional, that you learn
Yeah.
about imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
But I do feel like qualitative research, one of the, perhaps comparing it like with the tech industry, product research, one of the most
Mm.
representative fields, are recruiting in UX research. And as a hiring team, we're the only ones that probably could hit our, quotas, because actually there is a huge amount of representation. In fact, it was probably harder to get gender representation male candidates through, because that just kind of the industry has happened, and all of our leadership at the time at Meta was female, all of the directors,
Yeah.
and I just felt like it was such an empowering environment to progress.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not the case in many other industries.
Yeah.
So people do kind of, it's hard for you to aim for something if you haven't seen anyone else that looks or sounds like
Yeah.
you're doing it. Yeah, so I think the research got it right, if that makes sense, and hopefully those practices will be moved across to other sectors. I think something slightly different, another topic. Now, AI is everywhere at the moment. Obviously, 2023 was like the rise of Gen AI. It was, in fact, before, but that's when everyone, I think, downloaded ChatGPT. Or there are other alternatives available, of course. Um, what new tools have you seen coming up in your space? What are your thoughts on AI? Has it impacted your role or your space?
Uh, I think in research, obviously, AI seems to have had a very significant impact in terms of, how we, uh, I mean, some of them are also calling it as the golden age of qualitative research, because now you have AI as an assist to help you, to guide you through, those questions, those thoughts, and stuff like that. So, I mean, honestly, it's always, like you said, generative AI has just picked up, but imagine my 18-month-old daughter calling Alexa all the time and talking to her. So it's been there for now that the Alexa woke up when I spoke about Alexa. But yeah, I mean, asking Alexa about, what's the time, how is your mood, how is the weather like, what's the day like, did we ever think they are gonna behave like this? An 18-month-old girl talking to an AI thing. So, I mean, honestly, I just feel that it's more to do with adapting to it. It's gonna be here for long. If we go with that fear mindset, it's not gonna be helpful because it's developing at a rapid pace, and we have to integrate it in a way which can help us do our jobs better. It is a big kind of leap that's happening, but at the same time we're human race, we're used to adapting ourselves, and that's the beauty of being in qual research. You adapt yourself to newer things. Obviously, there is a bigger, I feel personally that there's a bigger impact on quant research that AI can have, but again, it's to do with how we adapt ourselves. Now, one thing very importantly which I always feel is that you can't it cannot function without the human knack. Humans created it, so let's not forget it. And always, there is a reason it was created. We are a step ahead of it. So if we just try to think from that perspective and try to always use it or utilize it from the angle of that, how can it help me rather than replace me? I think that's where we can just work with this capacity of AI.
I think exactly that, kind of enhancing your work with AI, I think seems to be most the best approach, and just learning how to utilize it to diversify your skill set. Um, are there any other technologies in your field that you're excited about? Anything else that's kind of coming up that you think anyone who's in this area should be investing time in learning?
I think from the AI perspective only, there's a lot of work that's happening from, creating creating avatars, creating music, creating videos via avatars, consumer videos, consolidating consumer language or getting more insights. I can't say the insights 100%, in that direction, but yeah, 90% there. I mean, technology wise, this is one big area that is developing, especially with qual research. But again, qual research is a very, like I said, it's a very niche field and it's very psychology driven. So you need very strong human knack there, and possibly that human support that AI needs uh, to work in this in qualitative research.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt, I think there will be new jobs coming out at the back of this, not just in
Yeah.
research, but in other spaces. I think like everyone's expected to be a prompt engineer now, not something that anyone really been trained for. Um,
Yeah.
Forget about like experienced people, even junior folks haven't really learned AI. So it's something we're just adopting. And from your perspective, a slightly different topic, have you ever considered any career pivots? Have you ever thought about leaving research, packing it all in, and doing something else?
I think all of us at any point of life have considered a career pivot, especially when we become moms. I think that's where you stay put and do stick to what you've been doing. But I think yeah, I really I really at one point I really wanted to have, like I said, I love storytelling. So I wanted to create this children's storytelling podcast, which was like I'll do this 100% of the time, and I want to get there and talk about children's stories and enjoy this space. But yeah, I think other than that, I think my career has been a career pivot. I ended up, like I said, I described the story that I ended up being here. But no, I mean, I haven't. I think I'm in the right place, in the right mind, in the right space to do what probably I'm capable to do.
And it sounds like you're with a nice business that kind of supports you with their time and space and tools that you need to do your job, which I think does retain, especially women in the workforce after having kids, etc. I think the work itself is one thing. The environment, as you said before, is exceptionally important, especially if you have stakeholders that you can relate to and have gone through some of those, juggling things that we spoke about. So that's great. Um, any advice that you would give to your younger self or anyone who's considering pivoting into the world of research?
I think it's very important to stay true to yourself. And I think be yourself is something that anybody would want to tell a younger self, but it's very hard to be yourself when you are young, and there is so much noise around you that you're constantly listening to, and so many opinions, and especially growing up in sort of an Asian culture, which is much more directed by what your parents want. But I think staying true and just believing in yourself, have the confidence that what have the confidence, even if people want to pivot, like if I want to just change my profession right now, I would still do it with 100% confidence, even if it's gonna go wrong. Doesn't matter, I tried. So like I said, I've tried so many things. For me, the biggest thing was just have the confidence, try out till you really find what you want to do in life. And there's nothing wrong in pivoting. There's nothing wrong in pivoting, absolutely. It is going to work out if you put your effort there.
Yeah, that's a great advice. It's never late to change, it's never late to pivot, whether it's at the start of your career, like yourself, or, 10, 15, 20, how many years later. I think you're a great case for it.
I think somebody gave me a brilliant advice. I spoke to someone recently, and I went and asked her that, I'm almost 40, and, I've been in the industry for 15 years. I just feel like, I don't know what to do. And she just looked at me. She's like, you have another 20 years. And I was like, exactly. That's a fact. That's exactly the fact. I have another 20 years to do whatever I want to do in, with my career. So it's like you said, it's never too late to
Yeah,
pivot.
I always say it to people like career is a marathon, it's not a race. What seems huge now, when you look back, will be quite a small period of what you did. So yeah, just I think enjoying it and sort of not stressing about it like a long time, because as we know, life happens and we sometimes just pivot because we have to. So yeah, that's a great advice. I need to connect to whoever you've been speaking to. Amazing. It's been great having you on the podcast. So thank you so much for sharing all the insights and the tips that you picked up on the way. Thank you, Heeru.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you to all our lovely listeners for sticking with us. I hope you found this useful, and please do share, like, etc. Check out our next episode that comes out in 2 weeks' time.